Welcome in, everyone. Today's deep dive, we're doing things a little differently. We're going to be looking at 50 body image journal prompts.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, they come from this blog, LeStallion. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think they're a really cool way to make us think about, how we see ourselves.
Yeah, like that.
Not just like those quick glances in the mirror or scrolling through social media, like really digging deep into how we feel about our bodies.
Because journaling, when it comes to body image, can be surprisingly powerful.
Right.
Helps us uncover those thoughts and feelings that, honestly, we might not even realize are kind of shaping how we see ourselves.
It's like having a conversation with yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And these prompts are set up in such a smart way. It really is like a guided journey.
Oh, cool.
You start with some self-reflection, then you move into those tougher negative thoughts,
Okay.
then on to self-love, then building up confidence, and then eventually long-term healing.
I like that. It's a process.
It is.
So starting with self-reflection, that's key because it lays the groundwork for understanding where we are right now with our body,
Exactly.
how we feel about it, and how those feelings have actually developed.
Right. Okay, so the first prompt, it asks us to list 3 things we appreciate about our bodies. Simple, right? But what do you think about that as a starting point?
Well, I think it's kind of brilliant
I do too.
because instead of just jumping into what we want to change, we actually are starting by saying, hey, what do I appreciate? What's already good?
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that our bodies aren't just objects to be judged. They're incredible, you know? They allow us to experience life.
I love that perspective shift. And then it gets you thinking about how that relationship with your body has evolved over time.
Mm-hmm.
So it asks about influences or, even pivotal moments that have shaped how you feel about yourself today.
Yeah.
I bet that could be pretty revealing for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. I think by tracing those influences, we might find, patterns we weren't even aware of before. Like, how have societal pressures, media messages, even comments from, family or friends, how has all that shaped how we see ourselves?
Wow. Yeah, just like connecting the dots of your personal history with your body.
Yeah.
And speaking of memories, there's this one prompt that talks about remembering a time someone complimented you in a way that like genuinely felt good.
Oh, nice.
And they want you to write it down, which I think could be really powerful.
Oh, totally. Because it's so easy to focus on the negative, right?
Oh, yeah.
But having those positive memories written down, those are like anchors,
Yeah.
reminding us of our worth and how other people see us.
That's good.
It's like building self-compassion.
All right, so now things are getting real. This next set of prompts, they focus on challenging those negative thoughts.
Ooh, okay.
So it asks us to identify those triggers that kind of set off those insecurities. What do you think some common triggers are that people face?
Oh, social media is a big one these days.
Oh, huge.
Like, it's almost impossible to avoid comparing yourself to, those super perfect pictures you see online. And then it triggers a whole, like, avalanche of negative self-talk.
It does.
Other triggers might be, like, certain clothes or situations where you just feel self-conscious,
Oh, yeah, totally. And the blog, they actually suggest, like, writing out a conversation with your inner critic.
Interesting.
Actually address those negative thoughts directly. Have you ever tried that?
I have, and it's actually surprisingly helpful.
It is.
It forces you to realize just how much you're doing that, that negative self-talk. And by writing it out, it's like you can kind of see it for what it is and maybe start to question it.
Totally, yeah.
It's a technique from cognitive behavioral therapy.
That makes sense. What I find really interesting is this idea of forgiving yourself for those negative thoughts.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole prompt about writing a letter of forgiveness. I never really
Yeah.
thought about forgiveness when it comes to body image.
Yeah. Forgiveness is often forgotten when we talk about body image, but I think it's super important.
Mhm.
Holding on to guilt and shame, that just keeps the negativity going.
Yeah.
So forgiving yourself, that can be like freeing. You can finally move forward and be kinder to yourself.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself permission to let go of the past and just be more positive.
Exactly.
And that's a perfect lead-in to the next set of prompts. This is where things start to feel really good. They focus on embracing self-love.
Love it.
This one prompt, I'm really drawn to it. It's about writing a love letter to your own body,
Wow.
like thanking it for all that it does for you. What are your thoughts on that one?
Sometimes we forget our bodies are like these amazing things. They allow us to experience everything.
Yeah.
So taking the time to just be grateful, even if we're not, perfectly happy with how we look, it can really help us connect and feel more grateful.
I like that. It's like a reminder that our bodies aren't just objects.
Yeah.
They deserve our love and respect.
Mm.
And speaking of that, there's another one that asks what your body would say if it could actually speak.
Mm.
What pops into your head?
I think mine would be like, hey, can we move a little more gently? Can we eat some more nourishing foods? And can we please have some quiet time and self-care?
Oh, yeah, that resonates.
Yeah,
It's like tuning into those little cues your body gives you and then actually responding with kindness.
exactly. And it connects really well with the prompt about, how our bodies let us do the things we love.
Yes. Like for me, it's hiking. What about you?
Ooh, I love to dance. It's like I connect with my body's energy and I get to be creative. It reminds me that my body's for so much more than just fitting into a certain size.
Totally. It's about celebrating those unique things that bring you joy, right?
Yes.
And I think when we do that, it really boosts our confidence.
Thinking about all these prompts about self-love and confidence, it really makes you realize that confidence goes beyond just like feeling good in your clothes.
Yeah.
It's also about how we carry ourselves, right? Our posture, our energy, all those nonverbal cues we give off.
That's so interesting. So it's not just about our outfits or hair, but how we inhabit our bodies. I'm curious, how much impact does body language actually have on our confidence, or vice versa?
I think there's like this feedback loop between how we use our body and how we feel emotionally. Like when we're confident, we tend to stand taller, make eye contact, just move more easily. But the cool thing is, even if we're not feeling super confident, if we adjust our posture or facial expressions like on purpose,
Oh, wow.
it can actually make us feel more confident on the inside, like we're tricking our brains a little bit.
So it's like fake it till you make it, but with our bodies. I like
Mhm.
that. I'm definitely going to try that. You mentioned earlier that confidence is about more than just feeling good in our bodies, though. What else were you thinking about?
Well, remember that prompt about writing a love letter to your body. It's not just about our appearance. It's about appreciating all the amazing things our bodies do for us every single day. It's a shift from focusing on what we want to change to being thankful for all the incredible things our bodies already do.
Right, like just being grateful for the fact that we're alive and functioning. We take those things for granted, like breathing, digesting food, healing. It's kind of a miracle when you think about it.
It really is. Our bodies are like these incredible machines, but we get so caught up in looks that we forget to just appreciate all the work they do to keep us going.
It's true. It's easy to be critical without stopping to think about all the amazing things our bodies allow us to experience. We're missing the big picture, right?
Yeah, exactly. And these prompts help us step back and see that, to move from judgment to a place of appreciation, maybe even awe.
I'm starting to see how these journaling prompts are about so much more than just body image. They're about self-awareness, self-acceptance, and understanding our relationship with ourselves.
Totally. Body image is just one piece of the puzzle. It's all connected to our physical, emotional, and mental well-being.
And that relationship is always changing, right? We're not static. Our bodies change, our perspectives change, and hopefully our self-compassion grows too.
Absolutely. And that's where those prompts about forgiveness and healing become so important.
Yeah, forgiveness is key. Forgiving ourselves for being so hard on our bodies in the past. Forgiving society for, pushing those unrealistic beauty standards.
Right. And understanding that healing isn't a destination, it's a journey. It's about being kind to ourselves every step of the way.
And embracing the fact that our bodies are always changing, it's just a natural part of life.
You got it. Our bodies grow, they age, they carry the marks of our experiences. What if, instead of fighting those changes, we learn to appreciate them as part of our story?
That's such a good way to look at it. But it's hard to just let go of those societal standards we've been taught, embrace our own unique journey. It's like we're constantly told how our bodies should look.
I get it. It's definitely a challenge. But the prompts that encourage us to, broaden our definition of beauty and push back against those narrow ideals, those are super important.
So it's about recognizing that beauty isn't one size fits all.
Exactly. Beauty is diverse, subjective, and always changing. It's up to each of us to decide what beauty means, not what some magazine tells us.
And to surround ourselves with people and media that reinforce that idea, right?
Definitely. Creating a supportive environment is huge.
Yeah.
And we actually have more control over that than we might realize. We get to choose who we follow on social media, what we read, what we watch, even who we spend our time with.
So we're curating our own little world of body positivity.
I like that. And those little bits of positivity can really add up.
And speaking of positivity, those prompts about affirmations and mantras, how do those play into self-love and body acceptance?
Well, they can be really powerful tools to fight off those negative thoughts that always seem to pop up. When we repeat positive affirmations, it's like we're retraining our brains to focus on our good qualities, our values, our worth. We're building up self-compassion.
So it's not just about silencing the negativity, but replacing it with something positive and uplifting. It's creating a whole new conversation inside our heads.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the more those positive thoughts become automatic.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to come back to your point about body image being just one part of our relationship with ourselves.
Yeah, it's all connected. And I think these prompts have given us so much to think about in terms of how we can nurture that relationship and really love and accept ourselves.
It's about realizing we're so much more than just our bodies. We're complex people with unique talents, passions, and stories. Our bodies are just the vessels that carry us through this journey.
And those vessels deserve our respect, care, and love.
I love that. This has been such a great conversation. I'm feeling really inspired to try some of these journaling prompts myself.
Me too. I feel like we've only just started to explore what these prompts can do for us.
Well, we'll have to continue in part 3. Join us then as we go even deeper into the world of body image and self-acceptance. As we wrap up our deep dive into these prompts, something that keeps coming back to me is we've talked a lot about self-love and acceptance, right? But there's this whole other element of self-expression that feels really important too.
Oh, interesting. How are you connecting those?
Well, there's this one prompt that talks about confidence and self-expression. Like when we embrace our style, our personality, our creativity, it can actually make us feel more confident in our bodies.
I see that.
So it makes me think maybe focusing on how we express ourselves outwardly can help us shift how we feel on the inside.
I think you're onto something. Because when we're expressing ourselves authentically, we're not so worried about fitting in or meeting someone else's expectations. It becomes less about how we look and more about, using our bodies to show who we are.
Exactly. So it's almost like self-expression becomes a way to break free from those beauty standards. We're not looking for validation from other people. We're just celebrating what makes us unique.
Yeah, totally. It's like reclaiming your power. And it can be so contagious. When you see other people embracing who they are, it can give you permission to do the same. Suddenly, those narrow ideas of beauty don't seem so important anymore.
I love that. And it reminds me of that prompt about stepping out of our comfort zone and feeling proud of our bodies for doing it. Maybe that discomfort comes from challenging those societal expectations we were talking about.
Oh, absolutely. When we push ourselves to try new things, to express ourselves in different ways, it can be scary, but it's also so empowering.
Right.
It reminds us that our bodies are capable of so much more than we give them credit for.
It's like we're expanding our definition of what's possible, both physically and creatively. We're not just following the rules, we're making our own.
And that creativity is a powerful thing. Instead of passively taking in all those perfect images we're surrounded by, we're actively creating something new.
We're not just watching, we're participating.
Exactly.
It makes me think of that quote, "The most beautiful people are those who are entirely themselves."
Oh, I love that.
It's not about achieving some perfect look. It's about that inner confidence that comes from being true to who you are.
So well said. And it's such an important message, especially for young people growing up in a world where those unrealistic beauty standards are everywhere. We have to remind them that their worth comes from within, not from how well they fit into some ideal.
You're so right. And, we've been focusing a lot on the individual journey of healing, but we can't forget that body image struggles often come from much bigger societal problems.
100%. We can't ignore the impact of media, culture, and all those societal norms. Those messages are all around us, and they can be really harmful, especially for people who are already struggling.
It's like we're all swimming in this sea of expectations about how our bodies should be.
Yes.
It takes real effort to step back and question all of that.
It does. And that's why it's so important to talk about these things openly, challenge those unrealistic standards, and create a more supportive and inclusive environment.
Yeah, that's where that prompt about creating a supportive environment comes in. It reminds us that we don't have to go through this alone. We can build communities, both online and offline, where people feel safe to celebrate their bodies and push back against those harmful norms.
Exactly. It's about fostering a culture where differences are celebrated, not shamed, where everyone can feel comfortable expressing themselves without being judged.
It's like a vision of a world where beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder, not dictated by some arbitrary standard.
And that's a world worth fighting for.
It really is. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into these 50 body image journal prompts, I want to leave everyone with a feeling of hope.
What do you want them to take away?
I hope they feel inspired to actually try these prompts, to have those conversations with themselves, and to learn to love and accept their bodies more. And I hope they feel empowered to challenge those harmful societal norms and help create a more body-positive world.
I love that. And remember, every act of self-love, every time you challenge those unrealistic standards, every conversation you have about these issues, it all matters. It all helps create a world where everyone can feel good and confident in their own skin.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. And remember, you are worthy, you are beautiful, and you are not alone.